Good evening, everyone. Anybody who is there who can hear me out? Am I audible? Let me know. Oh, live started. I started coughing. Yes, people, you are there. Am I audible? Good evening, Vrinda. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Come on, people, join fast. Yes, Vrinda, am I audible? Am I audible enough, Vrinda? I'm doing good, Vrinda. All this while I was doing good. The moment I started the Zoom live session, I started coughing. Maybe out of nervousness, is it? All right, people. So, all those students who can hear me right now, please let me know. Am I audible, Vrinda? Audible and clear enough? Audible and clear enough? Hello, Irana. Good evening. Audible. Lata. Good evening. How are you all doing, people? How are you all doing? All ready for the grammar quiz? Audible and clear. Great. Audible and clear. Great, great, great. So let maximum students join and we will start. Okay. Let maximum students join and we will start. All right. So how many of you have exam coming 29th? How many of you have exam coming 29th? Anybody? Nobody? Vrinda, Irana, Lata. That's only 4 students I have right now. Right. So how many of you have exam coming 29th? Nobody. Yes, you have Lata. All right. Lata, you're going to appear for the exam for the first time? No, no exam. Going to appear for the exam for the first time. Sophie, how are you doing? Long time, girl. How are you doing? How are you doing? Yes. Lata is going to prepare for the exam, going to appear for the exam for the first time. Acha, okay. Not yet taken the date. Great, that's good. Take the exam date once you're confident enough, once you are absolutely set enough in all the 4 modules, then only take the exam date. Even I will not recommend to take the exam date in a hurry, but it is always recommended to take the exam date once you are comfortable in all the 4 modules. You know where you lag, you know what your strength is, you know that all the 4 modules are going, on the way you want it. Then only take the exam date. No need to do anything in hurry burry. Yes. Okay. Then what else? Fine, Sophie. All right. Not yet taken the exam date. No problem. No issues. I'll wait for 1 more minute so that maximum students could join. Link has been shared. All right. All right, people. So let's start. We'll start. You all can see my screen. You all can see my screen. Yes, people. You all can see my screen. So let's have a look at the first question. The first question is, as I told you that today we are going to do 14 questions, right? Although we are going to do 14 questions, but our motive is to have command over all the grammar topics which can be helpful in your OET writing. Okay, so although please do not be in this motive that yes, my 14 questions are correct. If your 14 questions are correct, very nice, but our motive is to learn the concept today. Okay, we will understand each and every concept one by one, and we will try to implement in our letters. Okay, so the very first question is, I am writing to refer. The very first line, I am writing. Can you tell me what tense is that? I am writing is what tense? I am writing is what tense? I am writing is what tense? I am writing is present continuous tense active voice, right? What is I am writing? I am writing is present continuous active voice. I am writing to refer, right? Present continuous. After to, we always use first form of the verb, right? After to, we always use first form of the verb. I am writing to refer Mrs. David John, who dash health education owing to uncontrolled diabetes, right? Most of you have already answered that the answer is which one? The fourth one. That is with the verb you're adding s. When do you add s with the verb? When do you add s to the verb? As per subject verb agreement, when subject is singular, verb is singular, we add s to the verb. So this is the first topic of grammar that I take in Zoom sessions too. And this is very important topic that you have to apply throughout your letter writing. That is subject verb agreement. What is the application of subject verb agreement, people? Please let's understand subject verb agreement here. That whenever subject is singular, verb is singular, we add s to the verb. When subject is plural, verb is plural, we do not add s to the verb. This is what the concept is, right? Here the reason of adding s with the verb is because Mrs. David John is singular. Have you understood, all of you? Did you understand that concept? So the reason behind adding s to the verb is because Mrs. David John is singular. So when the subject is singular, we add s to the verb, right? When the subject is plural, we do not add s to the verb. So I am writing to refer Mrs. David John, who requires, we are adding s with the verb because the subject is singular, that is Mrs. David John. Suppose, for example, here if they were talking about two different subjects, I mean, I am writing to refer Mr. David John and Mrs. David John. If the subject would have been plural, then the verb would have been plural. And when the verb is plural, we do not add s to the verb. Clear, Ale? Right? We have already dealt with this topic in the grammar class, and this is what is subject verb agreement. Exceptions are I and you. Okay, exceptions are I and you. With I and you, we always use plural form of the verb. Okay, with I and you, we always use plural form of the verb. That is, I require, you require. Otherwise, with plural subjects, we always use plural form of the verb. That is, we require, they require, patient's family members require. But with singular subjects, we always use singular form of the verb and we always add s to the verb. So can you tell me some singular verbs, for example? Can you tell me some singular verbs? Some singular verbs in chat box? Can you tell me can you tell me some singular verbs? Requires, needs, assists, writes, right? Monitors. These are some singular verbs. So what can be the plural verbs? The moment you remove the s with these verbs, this would be considered plural verb. Require, plural verb. Speak, plural verb. Need, plural verb. Assist, plural verb. Monitor, plural verb. Observe, plural verb. Clear, everyone? So have you all understood subject verb agreement concept? And question number 1, why the answer is requires? When do you add s to the verb? When do you do not add s to the verb? What is the concept behind subject verb agreement? Is the concept clear? Not the question. Is the concept clear? And the question, everyone? Yes, people, clear to each one of you? Done? Okay. All right. Right. So let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. He experienced. We learned this tense just today in the grammar class, half an hour before we learned simple past, right? We learned simple past today. What is the structure of simple past? Subject plus V2 plus object is simple past, right? Subject plus V2 plus object is simple past. And when do you use simple past? Simple past tense is used to express those action which is started in the past and completed in the past, having no connection with the present, is called a simple past. What is What is simple past? Any action that started in the past, completed in the past, and it has no connection with the present is called as simple past. For example, in our letter writing, all those medical condition which has no connection with the present, all those surgeries which started in the past and completed in the past, all those medical condition and diagnosis which was once diagnosed in the past and it has no connection with the present, we expand those sentences in simple past statement. Active voice of simple past is subject plus V2 plus object. What is the active voice? Subject plus V2 plus object is the active voice of simple past. Passive voice of simple past is object plus we have two auxiliary verbs. They are was and were. We have two auxiliary verbs, was and were. Was is used when your object is singular. Were is used when your object is plural. So object plus was or were plus V3 plus by plus subject is the passive voice of simple past. He experienced frequent headaches. Who experienced? The patient himself experienced. What tense is this? So what tense is this? The patient experienced frequent headaches. He experienced. The patient himself experienced. Can we say he was experienced? Would it be right to say he was experienced? Would it be right to say he was experienced? No, the person himself experienced what? Frequent headaches, right? So it is not correct to say he was experienced. The person himself experienced the condition. So it should be written in active voice. So people, in our letter writing, most of the students have this confusion, ma'am, should we write in passive voice? Writing in passive voice would fetch us extra mark. People, nothing, no such. Please do not keep any such misconception. Any statement, any voice that prioritizes the patient is correct. If it is active voice, in active voice, if the priority is given to the patient, active voice is correct. In passive voice, if the patient is being prioritized, passive voice is correct. Like in this statement, you can see he experienced frequent headaches. You are ultimately giving importance to the patient, right? So this is absolutely correct. So he experienced frequent headache is simple present, simple past tense. Semicolon, dash, comma, he was commenced on. Now see, he was commenced on is simple past passive voice. Why? Why are we using passive voice here? Because the patient cannot start the drug for himself. He was started on some particular drug by somebody else, right? By somebody else. So he was commenced on Nurofen, 200 mg 4 times a day. So he experienced frequent headaches. So because he experienced frequent headaches, that's the reason he was commenced on. That means second statement happened because of the first statement, right? Second statement happened because of the first statement. So second statement is supporting the first statement. So when you have supporting statements, which connector do you use? We use supporting connectors. Which all types of supporting connectors do we use in our letter writing? We use 4 types of supporting connectors in our letter writing. Okay. What are the 4 supporting connectors that we are using in our letter writing? The 4 supporting connectors that we are using in our letter writing are therefore, subsequently, for which, and as, right? The 4 supporting connectors that we are using in our letter writing are therefore, subsequently, comma, for which, and comma, as are the 4 supporting connectors that we are using in our letter writing. All these 4 supporting connectors are absolutely accepted in our letter writing. So you do not have to be a skeptic regarding this. You do not have to be doubtful regarding this. All these 4 supporting connectors are used in our letter writing. Here you can see that we need a supporting connector because the second statement is in favor of the first statement. And therefore is a connector that we use between a semicolon and a comma. I have given you 2 supporting connectors and 2 opposing connectors. So obviously opposing connector का तो option ही निकल गया because you cannot use an opposing connector here, right? The only option left the only option left here to use is supporting connector. So what should be used? You will use therefore here, right? He experienced frequent headaches, semicolon, therefore, comma, he was commenced on Nurofen, 200 mg 4 times a day, right? So what all topics I wanted to complete here? What all topics have I touched here by doing question number 2? Simple past, active voice and passive voice. What is the structure of simple past active voice? Subject plus V2 plus object is the active voice. Passive voice, object plus was or were plus V3 plus by plus subject is the passive voice of simple past. When do we use simple past? We use simple past in all those places where the action is already completed in the past and it has no connection with the present. We use simple past. That can be any surgeries, it can be any diagnosis which has no connection with the present. We use simple past. We spoke about 4 supporting connectors that we use in our letter writing. Supporting connectors are those connectors which connect 2 statements in a positive way. In the sense, the 2 connectors, the 2 statements are being connected with a connector to support each other, right? Unlike opposing connectors where we have a positive statement and a negative statement. Unlike that, here we have second statement supporting the first statement or the first statement is supporting the second statement. So in order to connect such kind of statement, we have 4 types of supporting connectors which we use in our letter writing. They are subsequently, therefore, comma for which, comma as, and therefore is used as semicolon, therefore, comma. Right? So he experienced frequent headaches. Therefore, that's the reason he was commenced on Nurofen, 200 mg 4 times a day. I hope question number 1, that is the concept of subject-verb agreement, and question number 2, concept of simple past and supporting connector is clear to each one of you. Concept, answer is clear to each one of you. Let me know. Clear to each one of you. Question number 1, question number 2, any kind of confusion you have, please ask me. Yes? Clear? Alright, so let's move on to the next question. So let's move on. Could you repeat again, ma'am, that passive voice? Passive voice of simple past is Karuna, object plus was or were plus V3 plus by plus subject is the passive voice. Okay. Simple past, we have active voice and passive voice. Both we use in our letter writing. Active voice is subject plus V2 plus object. Passive voice, object plus was or were plus V3. Was or were. These are the 2 auxiliary verbs that we use in our letter writing. If your object is singular, was or were plus V3 are the 2 auxiliary verbs that we use in simple past. Okay. So was is used when your object is singular and were is used when your object is plural. Was when your object is singular and were is used when your object is plural. Both the active voice and passive voice of simple past is used in our letter writing as per the need of the task. Right? So passive voice is used in our letter writing whenever any kind of management which is done by somebody else for the patient, we expand those sentences in passive voice. That is, for example, admission is done by somebody else for the patient. Discharge is done by somebody else. Management is done by somebody else. Advice is given by somebody else. Starting of any drug or any kind of medication is done by somebody else. So we never say the patient admitted. The patient was admitted. The patient started on paracetamol. The patient was started on paracetamol. The patient was advised regarding smoking cessation. So passive voice is used when you speak about those statements where something has been done by somebody else for the patient. Clear, everyone? Understood, Karuna? I hope it is clear to you. Alright, so moving on to the third question. Mrs. John dash in the facility for the past 10 years. So here we have to understand the application of for. Please understand the application of for. For is used to indicate duration of time. Okay, for is used to indicate duration of time and since is used to indicate point of time. For is used to indicate duration of time and since is used to indicate point of time. Okay, so Mrs. John dash in the facility for the past 10 years, has been in the facility for the past 10 years. That means Mrs. John would have probably came to a facility 10 years before. And from the 10 years before up till now, he has been in this facility. That means the duration of staying in this facility would have started 10 years before. And from that point of time up till now, he has been in this facility. And the duration makes it of for 10 years. And that is why with duration of time, we always use which preposition? For. If here it was given as Mrs. John dash in the facility since 2020, then it would have been Mrs. John has been in the facility since 2020. Mrs. John has been in the facility for 15 years. Mrs. John has been in this facility since January. So with point of time, we use since. With duration of time, we use for. Clear, everyone? Have you understood? Question number 3, application of since, application of for, application of has been. Is clear to each one of you? Clear, everyone? Question number 3 is clear? Has been, not had been. Has been, has been. Clear? Question number 3, application of since, application of for, application of has been. Question number 1, subject verb agreement. Question number 2, supporting connector, simple past, active voice, passive voice. All these concepts are clear to each one of you. Yes? Right. Question number 4. Yeah. So let's move on to question number 4. She dash to follow diabetic diet and loves to eat fruits and cakes. Okay, she dash to follow diabetic diet and loves to eat fruits and cakes. Now, instead of answering this blank, please go for the clues which you have in the statement. She dash to follow diabetic diet and loves to eat fruits and cakes. That means it's a fact about her, right? Because it's not love to eat, it is loves to eat fruits and cakes. That means you are talking about simple present tense, right? She loves to eat fruits and cakes. It's a fact about her that she loves to eat fruits and cakes. So same way here, she fails to follow diabetic diet. Okay, she fails to follow diabetic diet and loves to eat fruits and cakes. That means she is unable to follow diabetic diet and at the same time she loves to eat fruits and cakes. So which tense is this? Can you please answer? The answer is fails, but why? What is the reason of writing fails as the answer, and what tense is responsible for this question? What tense is responsible for this question? Very good. Fail, something related to fact, so it is represented in simple present tense. Absolutely. Sorry. So what is the reason behind that? Simple present. So what is the structure of simple present tense? Subject plus V1 plus object is simple present tense. When do we use simple present tense in our letter writing? All those actions which is used to expand the fact about a person. And facts are represented in which tense, people? Facts are represented in simple present tense. In our letter writing, it is social background that is represented in simple present tense, because social background is the background of the patient which shows the fact about a person. Right? Social background shows the fact about a person, so it is represented in simple present tense. Okay. Not only social background, even medical backgrounds can be represented in simple present tense if it shows the fact about the person. Okay, even medical backgrounds can be represented in simple present tense if it shows the fact about the person. For example, she has hypertension. When you say she has hypertension, there is no time indication, right? When you say she has hypertension, there is no time indication. That means without time indication is it said that it should be simple present tense. Please never conclude like that. For example, Mr. Baker smokes 30 to 40 cigarettes every day. So every day is a time, but it's a time that is showing a fact, something that happens regularly, something that happens every day on regular basis. That is simple present tense. So if we have to point down some examples of simple present tense, they can be When you talk about somebody smoking things, right? Mr. Baker smokes 30 to 40 cigarettes every day. Mr. Baker consumes, right, 5 to 15 milli bottles beer per day. Or if it's a negative sentence, Mr. Baker does not smoke. Mr. Baker does not consume. Mr. Baker has obesity. Mr. Baker has hypertension. Mr. Baker has hypertension for which he is on Ramipril. Or Mr. Baker has hypertension for which he takes Ramipril. Or Mr. Baker takes Ramipril, as he has hypertension. Mr. Baker lives with his son. His son provides 24-hour supervision. His son is the primary caregiver. Mr. Baker walks with a stick. Mr. Baker ambulates independently. Mr. Baker has bladder incontinence. So any medical background, any social background that talks about the fact of a person is represented in simple present tense. Have you understood, people? Have you understood the nature of simple present tense? How does it look like? Where do we apply? How to apply? Which background of the task shows simple present tense? Is it clear, everyone? Question number 1, 2, 3, 4. Answers, concepts, topics, all clear, each one of you? Let me know. Clear, everyone? Right? So let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. Socially, Mr. Whitman dash a third year architectural student dash Adelaide University. So socially, Mr. Whitman dash a third year architectural student. Again, it's a fact about this patient. So if it's a fact about this patient, that means this sentence is to be represented in simple present tense, no doubt. So socially, Mr. Whitman is a third year architectural student dash Adelaide University. The name of the university is specific, so at Adelaide University, right? So the whole statement is which tense? The whole statement is simple present tense. Name of the university is specific, so you will use preposition at, right? So socially, Mr. Whitman is a third year architectural student at Adelaide University. Question number 5 is clear to each one of you? Question number 5 is clear to each one of you? All of you, please let me know. Yes, at is used with specific place. Clear? Let's move on to question number 6. Given the above, it would be appreciated. So this is the line which we use as the starter of the recommendation paragraph. So what are the various starters we have in our recommendation paragraph? What are the various starters that we have in our recommendation paragraph? Given the above, it would be appreciated. In view of the above, it would be appreciated. In light of the above, it would be appreciated. Straight away starting as it would be appreciated. All these are acceptable starters, right? All these are acceptable starters in our letter writing. So given the above, it would be appreciated. In view of the above, it would be appreciated. In light of the above, it would be appreciated. If you could. People always remember, in our recommendation paragraph, though the points are supposed to be written in future tense, but they are the past form. That means can will be converted to could. Never write given the above, it will be appreciated. No, will be converted to would. In view of the above, it would be appreciated. If you could provide physiotherapy, please never use the modal auxiliary verb. That is, do not use will, do not use can. Use the past form. The past form of will is would. The past form of can is could. Clear, everyone? So given the above, it would be appreciated if you could provide. So because this statement reminded me of one more thing regarding recommendation paragraph, people, in our letter writing, accordingly we change the tenses, right? But recommendation paragraph is the only paragraph where we are actually using the first form of the verb, right? If you just observe take any recommendation paragraph, given the above, it would be appreciated if you could provide physiotherapy. Given the above, it would be appreciated if you could monitor his skin integrity. Kindly observe, first form of the verb. Kindly observe for any kind of complication, right? Kindly provide assistance, provide first form of the verb, right? Kindly assist him with activities of daily living. Assist, first form of the verb. Kindly provide physiotherapy, provide first form of the verb, right? Kindly monitor his medication compliance, monitor first form of the verb. Have you understood, people? Do you understand me? Everything regarding recommendation paragraph is clear to each one of you? Everything regarding recommendation paragraph is clear to each one of you, right? Right. Let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. The acceptable statements are Varna in view of the above, in light of the above, given the above, right, upon above. I have not seen in any of the letter writings, okay? I've never seen that kind of usage, but these are some widely used. All right, okay, right. So let's move on to the next question, everyone. Question number 7. Right, so what all topics have we covered so far? We covered subject verb agreement, we covered simple present tense, we covered simple past tense, we spoke about preposition at, usage of preposition at in front of specific places. Then we spoke about supporting connectors, right? So let's see question number 7. Question number 7. Kindly manage his depression with activities and interest that is the blank, reading and writing. So see, basically all are acceptable, but in our letter writing, the word such as is considered informal, right? So basically, if you just simply speak the statement, it is absolutely correct. Kindly manage his depression with activities and interest such as reading and writing, which is right. But in letter writing, in our OET letter writing, such as is considered informal. Better avoid it. Okay, better, it would be better if you avoid it and use which includes. It would be better if you use which includes. So kindly manage his depression with activities and interest which includes. जो include करता है क्या क्या? Reading and writing. Understood, everyone? As I told you, kindly is a polite word which we basically use in our recommendation paragraph. Just now, a minute before, I told you that in recommendation paragraph, it is recommended to use the verb in first form. So kindly manage his depression. This point is certainly the point of recommendation paragraph. And because it is the point of recommendation paragraph, you can see the verb is in the first form. Manage is first form. Question number 7 is clear to each one of you? Such as correct ആണ് പക്ഷെ informal ആണ്. So it is better you avoid it. Okay, it is better if you avoid the usage of such as in our letter writing. It would be acceptable if you use it which includes instead of such as. Clear? Let's move on to the next question. Please have a look at the next question. During hospitalization, what is the other way of using during hospitalization? We have during hospital stay. Okay, during hospitalization, during hospital stay, and we have various other starters too. So various starters of alternative statements of during hospitalization, if you search in YouTube B-Ghud Oet, you will get. Okay, so during hospitalization, that means at the time of hospitalization while the patient was in our facility. During hospitalization, comma, Mr. X dash hyperkalemic, लेकिन, comma, but. So, comma, but is an opposing connector, right? But his current potassium, that means current means the current value, the present value of potassium is. So, certainly, current word gave you the clue that you are talking about the present condition, right? The word current gave you the clue that you are talking about the present condition. That means the hospitalization part was supposed to be expressed in which tense? Hospitalization part is supposed to be written in past tense, right? Hospitalization part should be written in past tense. So during hospitalization, comma, Mr. X was hyperkalemic, लेकिन, comma, but his current potassium is 4.0. Have you understood, people? Have you understood? So the right answer is was and is. So at the time of hospitalization, He was hypercalemic, but currently his potassium value is 4.0. Clear, everyone? Have you understood? Is that question clear? Question number 7. Question number 8. And but is an opposing connector. You can see but is an opposing connector and it is connecting two opposite statements. Please have a look. It is connecting two opposite statements. That is, before but, you're talking about that he was hypercalemic and he's not hypercalemic anymore because his current potassium level is 4.0. So we have we have three opposing connectors that we are using in our letter writing. Okay, so the three opposing connectors that we are using in our letter writing are although, comma, but, and semicolon, however, comma. Okay, so the three opposing connectors that we are using in our letter writing are although, comma, but, and semicolon, however, comma. Many students have this mind block that can we use but in our letter writing. People, but is an opposing connector. You can use it in letter writing, but you can avoid it in your introduction. Right? Using connectors in introduction can be avoided, but is an acceptable opposing connector which is still used in our letter writing. Okay, so what are the three opposing connectors that we're using in our letter writing? Although, comma, but, and semicolon, however, comma. The characteristic of although is a opposing connector, it's a starter, and it is always followed by a positive statement. That is although plus positive statement, and then you put comma and then you write the next statement, right? Comma but, you have already seen the application of comma but. Comma but is also used to connect opposing statement. Same way, semicolon, however, comma is also used to connect opposing statement. So here the right answer is was and is, and you have been provided a very good awareness regarding opposing connectors too. So I hope it is clear to each one of you. Right? Question number 8 is clear to each one of you. Let's move on to the next question. Yes, so let's move on to the next question. Yes, you all can see the next question on your screen, right? So let's have a look. Question number 9. Right. Mr. X was found. So see, Mr. X plus was plus V3. This is simple past passive voice, right? This is simple past passive voice. Mr. X was found to have no acute changes in his psychosis. So who found this? Who found this, that he has no acute changes in his psychosis? This is found by somebody else. As I have told you, all those kind of management, assessment, anything which is done by somebody else for the patient is always written in passive voice. Because it is was plus V3, this is certainly simple past passive voice, right? Because this is was plus V3, this is simple past passive voice. So Mr. X was found to have no acute changes in his psychosis, a simple past passive voice. Dash, observe him for signs of psychosis and refer if required. So see, Mr. X was found to have no acute changes in his psychosis. That means it's a good assessment, right? That means this is a good assessment that he was found to have no acute changes in his psychosis. So if he does not have any changes in his psychosis, why does he require observation? Why does he require observation for signs of psychosis? That means the first statement and the second statement are contradictory to each other. Is the second statement supporting the first statement? Is the second statement supporting the first statement? No, the second statement is exactly the opposite of the first statement. Yes or no? If it was supporting, it would have been. People, do you follow me? I'm just on and on, just looking at your comments and believing that yes, you have understood. People, do you follow me up till here? Do you follow me? Are you there? Too fast? Am I going too fast? You're not following anything? Concepts getting cleared? Let me know. Let me know, people. Right? Is the pace okay? I just went on. And then I realized that the last comment is by Vrinda and no more comment after Vrinda. So, do you follow me? Yes. Okay. Right. So this is my belief that yes, everybody is following me, is able to follow me, right? So this is my belief, so fine. So it's a positive belief. So yes. So Mr. X was found to have no acute changes in his psychosis, right? However, observe him for sign for psychosis and refer if required. Therefore, observe him. See, if he has no acute changes, he should not require any observation, no? People, if he has no acute changes, अगर patient में कोई acute changes नहीं है, मतलब ये तो अच्छी बात है ना, that means this is a good assessment, that means no observation should be required, he should be discharged. But in spite having no acute changes in his psychosis, we want the reader to observe him for signs of psychosis and refer if required. That means the second statement is opposing the first statement. People, do you understand that point? How can you use a supporting connector? The answer should be an opposing connector. Do you understand me, people? Have you understood? The answer should be an opposing connector. The answer should be however. Okay, if the statement was Mr. X was found to have acute changes in psychosis. If this was the statement, tell me what should have been the connector. Tell me, if this was the statement, then what should have been the connector? If it was Mr. X was found to have acute changes in his psychosis, then tell me what should have been the connector? If it was Mr. X was found to have acute changes in his psychosis, then what should have been the connector? Then the connector would have been Mr. X was found to have acute changes in his psychosis. Therefore, observe him for signs of psychosis and refer if required. हले ये होना चाहिए था ना statement. Now clear? Now clear. If the first statement was that he has acute changes in his psychosis, then you would have been using a supporting connector. But because the first statement is negative and the second statement is positive, that means we are supposed to use an opposing connector over here. Clear? Clear, everyone? Let's move on to question number 10 now. Mr. Millen dash type 2 diabetes and dash on oral medication. Since I told you, I've already discussed this question in grammar class, that this is a lifestyle disease and no time indication. It's a fact about him. That means Mr. Millen has type 2 diabetes and he is on oral medication. Has and is the right answer. Anandu sir has already answered this question, and please answer everyone. What tense is this? What tense is this? Mr. Millen has type 2 diabetes and he is on oral medication. What tense is this? Please, people, do not mess with this tense. For heaven's sake, do not mess with this tense. We have already discussed this tense in the grammar class. Yes, it is simple present tense. Very good. Right? So as I have told you 2 minutes before, all those lifestyle diseases, all those medical conditions which is the fact of a person are represented in simple present tense. Mr. X has diabetes, Mr. X has hypertension, Mr. X takes Ramipral, Mr. X has hypertension for which he is on certain medication. All those medical condition which shows the fact about the patient, all those medical drugs which the patient is currently taking or he has been taking for a longer period of time, he is on that particular medication, you use simple present tense, people. Question number 9 and 10 I believe is clear to each one of you. Right, let's move on to the next question then. Slide number 7. All right. So yes, my next question is visible to each one of you, I guess. My next question is visible to each one of you. Yes. Mr. Millen and his wife. We're talking about two people. Mr. Millen and his wife dash an aboriginal background. So Mr. Millen and his wife, subject plural, verb plural. I have already discussed this. This is a question on subject verb agreement. So when subject is plural, verb is plural. Mr. Millen and his wife have an aboriginal background. Mr. Millen only, if the subject was only Mr. Millen has an aboriginal background. Right? If it was only Mr. Millen has an aboriginal background. If it was only Mr. Millen's wife, then it would have been Mr. Millen apostrophe S wife has an aboriginal background. If you're talking about both Mr. Millen and his wife have an aboriginal background because subject is plural. Clear? Question number 12. I am writing to request you. I am writing, we have already discussed this present continuous tense. I am writing to request you to arrange a home visit for Mr. Jim Middleton, who is dash after surgery. There are still many people who write recovery. People, we do not have the application of recovery anymore in our letter writing. Okay, we do not use recovery. We write recovering. Okay, RECOVERING in our introduction. Right? Never say I'm writing to request you to arrange a home visit for Mr. Jim Middleton, who has recovery. No, recovery is your wrong usage. Who is recovering? Okay, while he is recovering after surgery. Application of after. People, whenever the patient is recovering after surgery, we use preposition after. And whenever the patient is recovering from a medical condition, for example, I'm writing to request you to arrange a home visit for Mr. Jim Middleton, who is recovering from pleural effusion. Right? So if the patient is recovering from a medical condition, you will use from. If the patient is recovering after surgery, you will use after. Yes, people, clear? Recovering, after, from. Application is clear to each one of you, I believe. Question number 13 and 14. Let's move on to the next question. My screen is visible. Question is visible to each one of you. Let's move on to the 13th question. During hospitalization, irrigation dash with cool running water. I have already told you, any kind of management that is done by somebody else for the patient is always written in passive voice, right? Any kind of management. So this is a kind of management that is provided by somebody else, to the patient during hospitalization. So during hospitalization, irrigation was provided because it was provided by somebody else, right? Irrigation was provided by somebody else. So during hospitalization, irrigation was provided with cool running water. Irrigation provided, wrong sentence. Irrigation were provided, wrong sentence, because irrigation is singular. Irrigation providing with cool running water, even that is wrong. The only correct statement is was provided. Was provided. The reason behind was provided, because it was provided by somebody else. Somebody else, anything which is done by somebody else is written in passive voice. Was provided is simple past passive voice. Simple past. Simple past passive voice, what is the structure? Object plus was or were plus V3 plus by plus subject. Clear? Question number 13. Answer is option number 2. Question number 14. Mr. X dash with physiotherapy due to right side weakness. Right? Mr. X. Again, as I told you for question number 13, any kind of management. So physiotherapy is also kind of management which is provided by somebody else for the patient. So Mr. X initiated with? No. Mr. X were initiated with? No. You're talking about one person. Mr. X was initiated with physiotherapy due to right side weakness. Has initiated with? No, because Mr. X cannot initiate. The patient cannot initiate physiotherapy for somebody else. So has cannot be the answer. Right? If I would have given you the option has been, then yes, we could think about was initiated with and has been initiated with. But because I've given you has initiated with, you cannot think of that option. Clear, everyone? So Mr. X was initiated with physiotherapy due to right side weakness. Clear? All the 14 questions with their concepts, with their answers, why, which tense, whatever, with every explanation. Is it clear to each one of you? So although we have discussed 14 questions, we have covered almost all the grammatical concepts cannot be covered in 45 to 50 minutes. But yes, major topics, major concepts should have been covered. Yes, people, have you understood? Yes, people, clear? Have you understood each one of you? So I hope you all were able to answer all the questions, and even if you were not able to answer the questions correctly, it's fine, because what matters is that you understood the concepts. All right, people. So that was all for today. That is all for today. I hope the session was beneficial to you. All those who attended the channel for the first time, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for notification so that you do not miss any of the upcoming classes or any upcoming sessions. So that is all for today. Catch you at 9 p.m. for the Zoom session with another task. So that is all for today, people. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. People, say something. No response from you. Right. All the questions clear. All the questions set. Concepts clear to each one of you. Let me know. Let me know your response, people. No response from your side. That was another awesome class. Thank you, Vrinda. Say, it was fruitful to you. Very happy to know that. Right? It was fruitful to each one of you. That gives me the boost, right? So thank you so much, everyone. Please keep practicing, and all those students, because there are many students who have not watched some of the topics that I've taken in grammar class. So some of the topics are already available in YouTube session. How can I get a Zoom session link? Right, are you the student of B-Ghud, Madan sir? Right, are you the student of B-Ghud? Right, you can take the link from the coordinators. Right, you can take the link from the coordinators. All right, had past le fact le Varna had a car. Varnയ്ക്ക് ഒരു കാർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പാസ്റ്റിലെ ഒരു ഫാക്റ്റ് ആണ് had. Varna has a car. ഇപ്പൊ കാർ ഉണ്ട്. It's a fact. Right, the patient has hypertension. Patient hypertension ഉണ്ട്. Patient को hypertension है. It's a fact. Patient had pneumonia. The patient does not have pneumonia anymore, Varna. Right, patient ഇപ്പൊ pneumonia ഇല്ല. So that is a fact of the past. Right, understood, Varna? I hope you understood. Clear, Varna? All right, everyone. So that was a nice session with you all. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Good night. Catch you at 9 p.m. for the Zoom session. Bye-bye.